Great champion knows that success, overcoming, and winning in life is no accident. Creating individual success is like having a recipe for a great meal. It only works if you know how to use the ingredients. As a best-selling author, entrepreneur, business coach, strategist, and champion, the Lewis Howard Live Show provides you the insider's view on winning. All we do is win, 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 helping you become the best version of yourself. Hope you are winning this summer because it's coming to an end. It is September, and one of my favorite songs in September is Earth, Wind, and Fire. Do you remember September? Hey, I'm Lewis Howard, and welcome to another recorded edition of Lewis Howard Live, streaming on multiple platforms that you may be hearing this on, and reaching multiple places around the world, and helping people become the best version of themselves one day at a time. Speaking of time, I want to talk to you today about urgent versus important. Boy, we live in a busy culture, especially for those who are listening to this in the Western United States or Western, I'm getting the place, the Western culture, right? You got Eastern culture and Western culture. And so those that have Western culture, we're really busy. We're going and coming. We got devices, we got phones, we got people, we got assistants, we got transaction people, we just got a cadre of people, places, and things that are always demanding your time. And the thing about being busy, it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, you're busy, right? Poor people are busy. Rich people are busy. Middle of the road people busy. So busy tends to touch every part of our culture. And the real question is, how effective are you at your busy, right? Movement does not necessarily mean progress, right? Just because you're doing a lot of things doesn't mean that you are making progress. You could be going around in circles, and you've been working on that 10 hours. Have you ever worked on something for a long time and then hit the delete button? Did all that effort and all of a sudden it didn't happen? Or did you plan for a meeting? You put a lot of work and time into a meeting just to find out the meeting's canceled. It's not even on. You can't get that time back. You were busy. And the interesting thing about that is you made some decision to put some people off, maybe family, maybe friends, maybe something that was important to attend. You said, I can't go because I'm working on this project, and you put all that time into that project, and turned out wasn't even a go. How frustrating is that? You can think of different examples where we've put a lot of time into. Ladies, how many times have you gone out and shopped for a dress, right? Because you've been invited to a party or an event, and you went out, you shopped for the dress, and you planned, and you got your makeup on, you got everything on, just to find out the event was canceled. Or like I do someday, it was on a different date than you had planned. I just recently showed up to pick up a vehicle that I rented. So I'm walking there all excited, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here to pick up my vehicle. And the guy goes, we don't have you down. I said, yeah, of course you do. I've made a reservation. And turns out I made the reservation for a different day, because in my business, right, in my urgent matter to do that, I didn't pay attention to details. And so he was kind enough to give me a vehicle anyway, but that could have turned out a whole different way. So there's just many examples. So I want to talk a little bit today for a few minutes about urgent versus important. I think you can quantify your activities into two quadrants, really, either important things or urgent things. And this is not a new discussion. It's been around a long time. But when I look at people, you couldn't tell that, because they don't really, it all runs together, right? Your activities should never run together, okay? Urgent things are not always important, and important things, they're not urgent. One of the most challenging things that I have a response as a parent is when I hear moms or dads or both missing kids' soccer games, or missing a ballet, or missing a performance, or missing something that is very important to them, but not important to you because you have more urgent things to do. And let me just speak to the dads for a minute about this. Don't think that because you tell your children or your wife that you are the breadwinner and you got to get out there and get on your grind and you got to make it 24/7, that somehow that is a substitute for not doing the important things for your family. It's not. And you will reap down the road that decision. So I hear so many people, well, I'm the breadwinner, and if I don't do it, nobody's do it. I gotta get out there and go get the bacon and you cook it up. Whatever terminology people use to justify doing something over the important. And so I just want to challenge it. It just came to mind as I was thinking. So anyway, so we either have important things and urgent things. Can you tell the difference? Right? Can you describe the difference between something that is important and versus something that is urgent? You may want to take some notes for this, because if you can master this, you can begin the steps to mastering your time. I manage or oversee or have leadership into probably 4 or 5 different companies or organizations simultaneously. And I have been doing this for a number of years. I manage a number of people that operate in different spaces. I have activities that require deadlines for different spaces, right? So for me, I always have to make a decision about what is urgent and what is not urgent. And let me explain one thing about urgent. What is urgent to somebody else is not urgent to me. But by the same token, sometimes what's important to me is not important to other people. So one of the things, for example, is that I have oversight over, compliance and documents and transactions. And for me, because of audit standards and whatever, I have some standards that are very important to do. Yet, sometimes the real estate agents, they don't even respond to it, right? Because it's not important to them. It's important to me, but it's not important to them. So they don't respond. But then on the other token, they may need a document, or they have a closing, or they're ready for their check. That's urgent to them. Okay. But guess what? It's not urgent to me, because I have a task list, and I'm not automatically going to put you at the top of my list just because you got a house of planning. There's an old military Navy term that says poor planning on your part does not create an emergency on my part. And this really is a big problem in our culture, right? Because if somebody has something urgent on their plate, they want it to automatically be urgent on your plate. And it may not be. And that's not dissing or disrespecting anybody. It's just your bad planning and your mistakes, they don't translate to me. So I don't take on your problem. If you didn't manage your time up to this point, and now all of a sudden you got a deadline, and now you got to make it happen. Now you got all hands on deck, and you want everybody to jump to the tune because you got poor planning, right? So I always tell people that I am what's called time on task person, which means I take tasks and I delegate a certain amount of time to each of those tasks. That's how I get so much done. Okay. If I was scattered and I just made decisions kind of ad hoc, or whenever somebody's calling or whenever they respond, okay, one, I would have a lot of activity, and two, I probably would get some things done, but I would never move the needle, right? Because I'm just responding to other people's emergencies, other people's deadlines, other people's calls, other people. You ever had somebody call you and they want you to stop what you're doing and pay attention and listen? Stop what you're doing. It's time to listen, right? They want you to drop whatever you're doing. Doesn't matter what you're in the middle of. Most of the time, people don't even ask you what you're in the middle of. Just stop what you're doing, because I got a problem, or I got to tell you something right here and right now. So important things don't scream, come see me, right? Like I mentioned about children, right? They're not going to scream and yell because you didn't necessarily make the ballet, the softball game, or whatever, but they're going to be disappointed, right? Um, Sometimes to just take the time to tell somebody that you love them, that you appreciate them, it's not urgent, but it certainly is important, right? It certainly is important, right? I often take the time to let people know I appreciate them. Not urgent, they don't have to do it. World's not going to change if I don't do that. But if I value that relationship, I make it important, right? Uh, I have set time in the morning, for example, that I have called meditation, quiet time, prayer time, uh, and I do that on a daily basis. Some days that's a challenge because I'll get up and sometimes I'll notice on my phone, I got 8 different calls or text message and I need to speak with you right now. I need to call you right now. Right. So that's urgent. But my meditation and quiet time is important. It's important to my sanity. So what do I do? Do I respond to the person that's got a 4 alarm fire? Or do I stick with my regular routine of this is what I do. Now, some people would call that selfish if you choose to just do what you do. Well, people need you. That's what you're there for. And you should jump. You should jump through the hips. Well, how healthy am I going to be over the long term if I continue to do this? I've been at this for like 20 plus years. And let me tell you, folks, the stress has been high at times, but I make it through it. You know why? Because I know how to keep myself when the heat turns up. I don't respond to everything. I don't lose my mind. I don't lose my cool. Man, this is why some people get so sick and ill because you do that enough time, it will take a toll on your health, right? So what do? I go with my scheduled amount of time because here's one thing I know about problems and urgency. They'll be there when you get done, right? Whatever you got to do, I promise you, it will be there. The other benefit sometimes when you delay urgent matters, I have found sometimes, you know what they do? They actually fix themselves. So sometimes if you don't jump on something and be Superman or Superwoman, sometimes the problems actually fix themselves. Sometimes when you jump on top of stuff, you actually make it worse. So the great artist Michael Jackson, when he was writing songs, and he would get to a part of the song where he didn't really know what to do with the song or how to make a bridge or how to get that song to do what he wanted to do. So Michael had a term he would say, let it simmer. Let it simmer. Put it on the back burner. Now, as a chef, I know what that means, okay? It's still cooking, but it ain't on high heat. It's back there just simmering till I take the next step. Sometimes in life, urgent matters, they just need to simmer. You need to put it on the back burner. Let it simmer a little bit. Let it take a chill pill, right? Put it up on the shelf for a minute. Don't feel like you have the obligation to deal with everything, okay? Here's one big thing. If you learn this one thing, you'll change your whole time management deal. You don't have to pick up the phone every time it rings. There is no legal, moral, ethical obligation that when my phone rings that I have an obligation to pick it up. I don't, right? I have a choice. And so depending on who's calling or what I think it's about, I will either choose to take that call or I'm going to let it simmer. I'll get back to it because I may be involved in some important things and it's disrespectful to my children, to my relationships, or to my private time to interrupt that to go jump into something that may not be important at all, right? I've had people just, blow up my phone. Oh, I just had a quick question. Really? Call me 8 times for a quick question? You could have probably texted that question to me, right? So, and again, this is I'm not saying all of this so you can go out and dish your relationships or start, dividing people, into urgent and important things. But what I'm saying is the health of your life the health and success and well-being of your life will be determined by your ability to choose what is important and what is urgent. And remember, I've said this at the beginning, urgent things are not always important, and important things are not always urgent. Let's talk about health for a minute. Good health is not it's important, but it doesn't scream at you every day. Hey, you need to eat right. You need to work out. You need to drink, 8 glasses of water. You need to take a vitamin. You need to go for a walk or a run. It won't scream that, right? But it's important. And if you don't do that, you will have some urgent things. Okay. A lot of people have urgent health problems as a result of not doing the important things to maintain their health. Just happen. Just simple. Just ask any doctor. I'll tell you. Because the first thing the doctor says is, do you exercise? Do you drink water? How many hours of sleep? How much alcohol do you drink? Right? Okay. They ask you all that because they want to see how well have you been maintaining your health and what part of that could be contributing to this urgent problem that you're in urgent care for, or you're in the doctor's office. So important things are dangerous because they're quiet. And if you don't do it, life won't change. If you don't get up and say a daily prayer or daily Thanksgiving, your life not going to change. But I promise you, down the road, boy, you may think about, man, I should have thought about, maybe spending more time in it. The other thing about urgent and important is you have to learn how to delegate. Okay. You have to have the ability to ask this problem that I'm being asked to solve. Can I delegate this to someone? Can I have somebody step in here and help me solve that issue so I can go and do things? That's what I love about technology, because technology will let me delegate some stuff, right? Chat GPT now is a huge asset, right, to the world of think. Why? Because I can go to Chat GPT and say, hey, can you look up interactions in interpersonal communication? I want to write an article on it, right? Okay, I've delegated that off, right? And some of you, if you're fortunate to have assistants or coworkers or people that can take care of tasks, you want to delegate. Don't feel like you got to be the prideful person, the ego-driven person that says, I got to be the one to solve everything. Okay, well, and when they make caskets for strong and ego-driven people too, right? You keep doing it, and it's gonna have its toll, right? So sometimes you got to delegate. So one of the things, interruptions, phone calls, emails, meetings. The number one email disruptor to life is phone calls and emails, right? I call this what do I call them? I call it parachute people, right? They're out in the atmosphere somewhere, and all of a sudden they take their parachute and they aim it towards you, and they're just popped in your life. Hello, Frank. Hello, Bob. Hello, Lewis. I'm here. Stop what you're doing. Okay. And I got this urgent thing, but it may not be something that's important to me. And now I've got to stop what I'm doing, spend 45 minutes on a phone or an email. Okay. These group chats, right? These are the worst wasters of time, because here's what happens sometimes. You ever been on a chat where you start a conversation, or somebody starts a conversation, and you guys are flowing along in a conversation, and then what happens? Somebody parachutes into the conversation, has no idea what the history it is, and say, guys, what are we talking about? Can we start over? I missed that. Wait a minute. Now we got to go all the way back to the beginning, or they'll make a comment that's not even based on what we were talking about. Just telling you. Okay. So urgent versus important. Distractions. Oh my goodness. This is a big one. Distractions. Distractions are one of the biggest things for urgency. Most urgencies are caused by distractions, just not focus, right? I got too many things on my plate. I'm distracted. So now I'm not focused. And what happens when you're distracted? Okay, you're not paying attention. So let's say you're dad and you're distracted by some project that you have, and you got a deadline, and your kid wants you to read to them, or they want you to go throw the football with them, but you can't do it because you're distracted. No, not now, honey. Later. How many times you think you're going to say that before it has a consequential impact, right? Later. You know what's going to happen? Sadly, what's going to happen is pretty soon that son or that daughter is going to stop coming to you. And we wonder why when we get older, it's so hard to communicate with our children. It's because we told them later. We told them I'll get to it later, right? I remember my daughter used to do this to me. She'd be in the house. She would not say anything to me all day long, okay? And so, about the time I'm ready to go out to a social engagement, right? And I'm getting dressed and, I'm got myself ready to go and I'm about to head down the stairs. Here she comes, right? Hear those little silent feet come and she'll sit down next to me and I know what's coming. Now she wants to talk. I'm ready to go and party or go to an event. She wants to talk. Dad has a choice to make. Do I do with my urgent thing, which I've already planned, or do I take the time to sit here and do something that's important? And I can tell you with all honesty and transparency, I missed a number of different parties because I decided that moment, rather than go around and be around those folks, I'm going to take the opportunity to spend time with my child. Don't know how many days, weeks, months I would have that. And I got to be able to do that. That's what I'm talking about, the difference between urgent and important. And it's urgent, important is easy to do, and it's easy not to do. Urgency is a problem because it screams, right? It's like a baby. It's like traffic. It constantly screams at you, right? Until you deal with it. It wants to take your time, right? And most of us, we're suckers for it. We just go do it. I want to get it out of the way. But here's the funny thing about things like that. It's never out of the way, right? Have you ever tried to solve a problem quickly thinking it's going away and you only made it worse? Now all of a sudden you got a bigger problem than when you started. If you should have left the thing alone and now it's out of control, right? So sometimes, again, let things simmer. Don't feel like you got to jump on top of everything. Don't feel like you got to answer the phone every time you go. Don't feel like you have to take every invitation that comes. If it's not important, your health. Guys, I'm at the stage and age of life where I realize, hey, I need rest and longer recoveries. So that means I have to say no to some things that may be urgent or important to other people, but I got to do what I believe is important for my rest over the long haul. I still have a lot to do in this life. I got a lot of places I want to go see and do, and I need to be at my best. Okay. So learn how to do urgent versus plan. The thing about important that will help you is that if you plan. All right. So one of the things that I do at the beginning of the week, I sit down and I list all the activities I think I need to accomplish this week. Right. I call them my task list, and I don't have one in front of me. I would show you, but I write them down, and then I put a priority to each one of those. Right. And then I decide what I'm going to do. I don't know if you can see it, but this is like one I did a long time ago. Right. So these are like, I don't know if it doesn't show very well, but anyway, so I write all these things down. Right. So for my week, so those are my tasks, right? Those are things that I have said, these are important to accomplish based on priorities, right? Okay. Now, there's going to be a bunch of other things pop in and out besides those things. But you know what? I stay on task with those things because I'll check in and say, okay, how am I doing on these items? Okay, I'm doing good. Then I can go off and deal with urgent stuff. I can deal with it because the urgent is not overshadowing the important. So I will put on one of the things that my important is work out 3 times this week. Okay. Make sure you pick up your daughter or take her to this place, or I've got a dinner date with someone. Okay, these are all important things. They don't scream, right? But if you don't do them, you're missing some important relationship building opportunities. And that's what urgent does. Urgency kills relationships. It kills relationships because there's no planning, right? We live in a culture that says, I got to have it heat it and eat it. It's what my grandmother used to say, right? We got it. We don't want to cook it. We just heat it and eat it. I got to have it now. Got to have it yesterday. Have you ever asked somebody, when do you need some? I needed it yesterday. Okay. Right. So now I'm supposed to run off with pants on fire because you needed something yesterday. Why did you need it yesterday? It is most likely because you didn't plan. Okay. I tell this to real estate agents all the time. So in my particular business, one of the businesses that I have is a real estate business, and agents have to renew their license every 2 years, right? On average. Okay. So you got 2 years to renew your license. Do you know what most agents do? Most agents wait to the last week before their license expire to now get their continuing education. Okay. So now they're urgent. House on fire. Okay. So guess what happens when you do that? You're going to stick some important things. They're going to get pushed to the side because you got to get this done now. Because if you want to keep your license, stay in business, you got no choice. Okay. Maybe you got an occupational license in what you do. Okay. Don't wait till the last minute, because now you're going to be forced in an urgent situation that's due to poor planning, and maybe something that's critical and important is going to miss you by. And I'll tell you this, you'll miss some valuable opportunities if you only operate in the quadrant of urgency, right? I believe that people miss $1 million opportunities every day because they're distracted by problems and challenges and issues that they think is important, and they are so-called busy. Okay. I've had people miss important opportunities because they were quote unquote busy. Okay. And I said at the beginning, rich people are busy, poor people are busy. But the difference between that is what the rich person accomplished with their business and what the poor person accomplishes with their business. It's in a class thing. I'm just saying it's the difference, right? Men are busy, women are busy. But the difference is, what do you accomplish with your business, right? So don't miss opportunities. Don't let urgency put you in a position where now you can't be in the right place at the right time. And the last thing that urgency will do is it'll rob you of creativity. Urgent people are not creative, okay? Because they're operating under stress. And you can't have, I'm a creative person, and I know one thing, I can't be creative if I'm under stress, right? If I'm in the important zone and I'm restful, I can be creative. But if I'm urgent, So urgent people, not very creative. Okay. So you lose out on the ability to be able to be creative with solutions, outcomes, and ideas. And remember, our life is bigger than ourselves, right? Our life should never be about you. It should be about your family, God, friends, and relationships should be a part of your life. And if it's not, man, you may be lost in the wrong quadrant. So I just thought that was important because I've been having to make some certain decisions. Should I do this or should I do that? Right? One's calling because it's urgent. The other one's important. And it's just too easy to put the important things, put that on the back burner. Put urgent things on the back burner and let them simmer. Don't put important things, right? You know that call you've been putting off to make to a family member or to a friend, and you say, hey, I want to check on that person, but it's not urgent, right? Make the call. Make the call. That email you've been wanting to send to somebody and say a certain thing or post, do it. Don't get robbed of those opportunities. I have affected so many people's lives just on the instinct to send a text. And they would say to me, man, I needed that today. Thank you for doing that. Right? I didn't know that they were in a certain situation. I just thought it was important to connect with them. So let importance lead you, not urgency. It'll be better on your health. It'll be better on your wealth. It'll be better on your relationships. So the way you start really is really just sit down and really list the interruptions, list your distractions, right? List the parachute people. You know who they are, people that just fall in. And then list those things that really are important that you want to accomplish, whether it's health or money or relationships. Okay. List those things down and make sure that you're spending an important amount of time on those things that are important and lessen the time that you'll spend on urgent. I think some of you are going to surprise yourself. I think some of you are going to find out that you've been spending probably 70% of your time with urgent matters and probably less than 30% of your time with important matters. That's got to flip. 70% of your day ought to be spent on important things, and only 30% of your day should be spent on the urgent. Hey guys, thank you again. It's always fun to do this and drop some wisdom out there. And hey, share it, tell a friend to tell a friend, bump it up to someone else. I guarantee you somebody's got an urgent situation out there, an important situation out there that could use some of this thoughts and advice. We'll see you again on another edition of Lewis Howard Live, helping you be the very best that you can be of your.
Every great champion knows that success, overcoming, and winning in life is no accident. Creating individual success is like having a recipe for a great meal. It only works if you know how to use the ingredients. As a best-selling author, entrepreneur, business coach, strategist, and champion, the Lewis Howard Live Show provides you the insider's view on winning. All we do is win, win, win.